welcome to this week's edition of the Just Two Marks Wrestling Recap Show. I am the Athletic Geek, and my co-host this week, back again, is JC of the Deluxe Asterix. And for those that have never seen the show before, this is the Just Two Marks Wrestling Recap Show, where we go over noteworthy or entertaining or just whatever happened in wrestling this week. But unlike other shows on YouTube, we try to avoid doing things like using insider terms or when discussing these events, because even though we are fans and follow and have opinions on the wrestling business, at the end of the day, we're not part of the wrestling business. We're just two fans or just two marks. And we got quite a bit to talk about this week. We got... We have a kind of an interesting edition of Raw. We have a big three-way dance on SmackDown. The Best of the Super Juniors are really getting interesting. And
wasn't it like a two-way dance with Lana and Naomi?
Yeah, that too. And I may have just gotten sad. I may have just gotten sad. Anyway, now it's time for Raw Thought. Alright, so... first thing we're going to talk about from Raw is the B team hosting a memorial team.
Who died?
The tag division on Raw. No, I kid. Hosting a Memorial Day barbecue, and which leads to the inevitable
food fight,
because you can't have a holiday in the WWE without a food fight, be it 4th of July or Christmas or Thanksgiving, and now Memorial Day. There was still a food fight. And the first time I saw this, I actually didn't. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then upon watching a second, I'm like, this actually wasn't a bad little sketch with everybody. I mean, granted, it's not what I would want to do to the entire tag division, but at least gave kind of people who normally don't get a chance to shine, and the fact that they're actually kind of doing something with Dallas and Axel post Miz is, I thought they were just going to fade into obscurity again when the Miz got drafted to SmackDown, and they're not, so that's a good thing. The downside is, and this isn't a slight on any of the talent in the Raw Tag Division, they're, some great talent, some great teams there. I think that the Revival are a great team that just have not gotten their due since they went to the main roster. I like the fact that Slater and Rhino still together, and again, Slater I think is an underrated talent. I think that the Ascension could have been good because they're great in NXT. I think that Titus Worldwide, especially with Cruz, they're great. The Fashion Police, Breezango, they're great. You got good talent there, but just in terms of the star power, the drop-off I noticed from Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, and then the rest of that tag division that were pretty well just put right there in the forefront of that entire segment,
Well, like I said, I'm obviously a little bit out of the loop. I keep up with clips and stuff, but I could assume that might have, like I said, it might have something to do with the draft, because, the bar went to SmackDown and so on and so forth.
I'm hoping out of all of this, and it may be, I might be naive in even hoping for this. What I'm hoping for is I'm hoping with this segment that perhaps this can help the star, I guess, of Dallas and Axel to, maybe perhaps they win the tag belts from Wyatt and Hardy down the road, and then, hey, because there is, despite the star power not being there, it showed in that segment, there is some teams, there's a division there, Is it as deep and as good as it could be in 2000 when you had, Dudley's, Hardy's, Edge and Christian, Too Cool, New Age Outlaws, TNA, not the Test and Albert, not the wrestling promotion,
Right to censor.
Right to censor, head cheese, all the... Is it as deep as it was then? No, but is it deep enough to where you can have some entertaining matchups and some entertaining feuds for the titles? Yes, it is. They just kind of need something other than, a food fight.
Well, I mean, this might be me speaking outside of my expertise, but do you think that maybe the issue is, which kind of, with the exception of like the New Day, like, do you think it's just because a lot of them are kind of presented in comedic roles, and a lot of times comedic roles aren't necessarily in contention for the titles? Because I mean, look at all of those teams that were in that. You had the Ascension, which are often in the Fashion Police stuff, the Fashion Police, Slater and Rhino, even though they did win the titles and all that, still, Titus, who just fell on his face and made a t-shirt out of it, and even Bo and Axel themselves.
The only team that maybe still has a degree of seriousness is the Revival.
Yeah.
And even they were made to look like Joe. At the end of the day, I laughed because, despite, being embarrassed, at the end of it, who beat everybody up? It was Axel and Bo. And maybe that can help them, look into eventually, like, who knows? I'm not going to fantasy write this because anytime unfortunately, when I fantasy write in my head what's going to happen, sometimes it sets up for failure. And the tag division being a big priority for the WWE, I think, is just not really on their A, B, C, or D list of concerns right now. But maybe we could make better stars. We mean they in WWE. Well, WWE, see, they see t-shirt. Whenever we never have t-shirts, but we'll make one for that. But maybe that could make stars. Maybe that could help this team break out. And I get the whole comedic thing. The problem with a lot of these comedic sketches, there's never the time to where the switch can flip and they turn serious, like they did, like with The Rock. He would be funny and then he'd turn that switch and then it was time to get serious.
Well, I mean, they kind of did that within that segment because obviously, even though they were like, we got covered in food and stuff and we're mad and this and that, they, still, they got one over on Rhino, they put him through a table, they were obviously the victorious team within the segment,
right,
cementing their place as, I guess, maybe the top team right now,
right,
like, in terms of contention or whatever.
Perhaps, but it just, I harken back to the Colt Cabana Homicide feud from Ring of Honor back in 2005, 2006. That was pretty masterfully done in terms of, like, this is how you take legit a comedy wrestler, comedy character, and put him in a situation to where he's got to change. It's time to be serious now, and it was so well done. And we had a good people writing and putting it out. You had good performers to make it work. Colt Cabana and Homicide. I'm not saying that, they're, even though I love Colt Cabana and Homicide, I'm not saying they're like the end all be all, like, you got to be just like them. It's like, how hard is that for other people?
Yeah.
You bridge in the comedic thing. Like, how hard is it to do?
Well, now, when I say it, I'm also thinking
is it too much in a bubble? Like, don't turn into that series because we wrote this for you in the WWE, or what is it?
Well, now that I'm thinking about, like, it's not exactly the same kind of thing, because it's almost like, I was going to say, like, you get some comedy out of Matt, but, like, it comes, like, maybe more just from his just eccentric nature.
Right.
Necessarily than just always, he's not, like, I mean, he's like an eccentric madman, but I wouldn't really call him, like, a buffoon.
right,
so to speak. Like he's not like literally you have like the B team bar, it's so
Bow dogs and potato chips.
You have like their homemade looking shirts and banner and stuff like that. Like I guess there's a difference,
right?
But I don't know.
That's pretty much all there is to say about that. Other than, I have some cautious optimism, I guess I could call it. Surprisingly after that I have some cautious optimism, but very, very cautious optimism.
Wait, Rhino ate sandwiches and it was funny.
Yes, Rhino ate and then threw them to the crowd.
Yes. Also, I couldn't help but point out, like, you had Slater act like like the spread your generic picnic spread was equivalent to a Thanksgiving dinner in West Virginia, and then it just made me think, like, I wonder what Adam Page thinks about that. The other known wrestler from West Virginia, not counting Jamie Noble.
This is going to be a failure on my part as a YouTube wrestling persona. Is Adam Page West Virginia or Virginia?
Maybe he is Virginia. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he is Virginia because I remember he said that one of his distant relatives came up with the state motto for Virginia because Virginia is for lovers.
Right.
So yeah, you just struck my. Okay, fine. Jamie Noble. I wonder how Jamie Noble feels about that. He's probably around.
All right, moving on. We have a small little apology from Sami Zayn about, where he fully admits that those were not Bobby Lashley's sisters. They were men in drag. I know, right? And it sets up a match between the two for Money in the Bank. It was pretty standard. The only really observation I can make out of that was this was not Sami Zayn's apology. This was WWE's apology going, we're sorry we put crap on the television last week. We're sorry it was such crap that it was, memorable for being crap. We apologize. I half expected just to have, Vince, doing the... I imagine in my head the first one saw
BP.
Dude doing the BP from South Park. Sorry! We're sorry! Sorry! Riding a horse. Sorry! Naked on the floor. Sorry!
I mean, once again, I haven't been consistently watching, but, I did notice, I've heard someone... I don't know if you would call it criticize, but I had heard someone express their distaste maybe for Bobby Lashley's kind of hi, I'm around and I smile. This is what I do now. And I did notice, as much as he kind of was doing that, there was, the switch where he had the handshake with Sammy, where he got, very serious.
It's a feud. It's something for them both to do. I feel like they both need to be, doing better stuff. But, I guess there is only so many spots in the main event, so maybe I should just shut up. Quick shout, this isn't our format, but before I forget, I just want to recognize it. Good match between Drew McIntyre and Chad Gable this week. Thumbs up. Great match. Check it out. Which leads to the Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey segment they had on, and which wasn't a bad segment. It was pretty much, Nia has a local indie wrestler or whatever, enhancement talent, not trying to use the terms, but what else can you really call them in this segment? And she's beating her up and then calling out Rousey, who's doing guest commentary. And that's whatever. My only real gripe with this is pretty much
the quick switch.
Yeah, it's just, you worked so hard and they did such a great job leading up to WrestleMania with Nia kind of being, a relatable every woman. She was picked on. She was bullied by Alexa Bliss. People related to Nia Jax. And I thought she did really well. And I thought they did a really good job turning her into that. And then now Nia's doing the same kind of bullying thing. Now, granted, it's Ronda Rousey. There's going to be a lot of people who thought that Ronda Rousey was a bully in the UFC. And they're, going to be saying, Ronda Rousey get what she fucking deserves right now, whatever. but, I feel like you can't really bully Ronda Rousey, because she's just kind of like on such a pedestal, but still it's just one of those. I feel like they threw away hard work and a good job and a good role for that, individual. They could have done this good versus good, and just one of those like, Ronda, I respect the hell out of you, but you've never fought anybody like me, and
I don't know, but
come Money in the Bank, you're gonna, don't think just because you're a UFC champion, don't think just because, you got a few good licks in on Triple H at WrestleMania that you're gonna take this title from me. Well, I've beaten, I respect you, and you've been in the WWE longer than me, blah, 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 but, I put the women's and wrestling in the UFC on the map, and now I'm going to come to WWE. I was the champion there, and I'm going to be the champion. You're in for the fight of your life, come Money in the Bank. Shake hands, stare down, mutual respect, but the fight happens.
I didn't see the setup. I didn't see the Alexa Bliss stuff. I mean, like, I can get the general gist. But at the same time, like I said, I buy Nia in this role, and sometimes, people get turned, good guy, bad guy, or girl in this case, for the sake of convenience. And, I mean, they didn't necessarily have to do that, but it doesn't not work.
Right.
And at the same time, too, like, maybe... in this, I mean, as much as, Ronda is who she is, at the same time, Nia is who she is. She's a powerhouse, person. She's going to throw someone around, and she acts like it, and she's a smart ass. That's kind of her thing. And
it's not so much that Nia is bad in what they're doing now. It's that she was doing so well before. It's kind of like, I wasn't... Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready for, I don't think it was time. You could have still done this down the road,
Yeah.
She could have got frustrated with not being able to beat Rousey and then went bad again, but...
and at the same time, too, like I don't know, like, if Nia... I mean, I guess she could, but, Nia... Like squeaky clean like that.
I mean, not so. I don't think squeaky clean. Just not go full on bad. Like I said, kind of do the whole. I respect you, but you're not going to beat me. Yeah. You're not. Don't think. Like I said, don't think that the fact that you were a UFC champion means that you're going to come in and become a WWE champion. Don't think because you got a couple licks in on Triple H. Hey, cool. You put Triple H in his place in your match, but you know what? I put somebody in their place at WrestleMania too.
Yeah, in 1986.
All right, we're done now. That's only a half line. We're just done talking about Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey.
It's a fair point. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Gonna real quick, Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins. Good little match. Seth is continuing to be. I'm really comparing Seth Rollins right now as Intercontinental Champion. I'm comparing. It reminds me a little bit of the Mike Awesome RVD dynamic they had in ECW for that period of time where. Well, Mike Awesome was the world champion. Not bad at being world champion. He's he's still when you got done watching the ECW pay-per-view, you were talking about RVD. And granted, it's easier for Rollins in this role because it's, Lesnar, the main champion, isn't there. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But that's what it reminds me of because whenever I get done watching Raw, I'm thinking Seth Rollins is killing it every week defending that Intercontinental Championship, and he's elevating the Intercontinental title. This is the same way RVD was elevating that ECW TV title. The problem was he kind of just in this match is a good match, Jinder Mahal, and I'll even give credit to Jinder there, even though I'm not really a big fan of Jinder Mahal, but. It kind of had a lame finish where, Jinder was trying to pull some bad guy shenanigans, but then, and Jinder...
One of the Singh brothers.
One of the Singh brothers, the Singh brothers brought in the chair, introduced the chair, but then
Well, he got thrown out.
Yeah.
That was the weird thing I thought, kind of, was like, he got thrown out, and then he came back, and I remember, like Michael Cole or somebody said, like, well, he got thrown out. What's he doing? Like, or like, why is he still here, or something like that. And it was just like, and I was just like, that's a good question for the ref who's letting it happen. He's, look, what are you doing?
Right. But pretty much, it's just. He eventually comes back on the chair and gets himself disqualified, and then he kicks some ass and poses on top of the announce table until Elias whacks him with the guitar and he falls down the stage. Perhaps setting up Elias and Seth for Money in the Bank for their Continental title. Even though Elias is kind of due for
A new guitar.
A new guitar, yes, that's one, but also a championship reign. I'm really hoping they don't take the belt off of, the Intercontinental belt off of Rollins right now, just because of how good of a job he's doing. But despite all of these, nerdy, smart mark, whatever you want to call us, kind of likable things I've been hyping up about Seth Rollins. From the outside looking in, Seth Rollins not look like much of a good guy. He looked kind of like a dick using that chair, because he wasn't provoked that badly to use the chair.
The way I put it was, it wasn't completely. I mean, obviously he has every right to be annoyed and pissed off because he's basically fighting two people and he's, dealing with crap over and over again. So it's not that he's necessarily in the wrong in terms of being upset or even reacting. It just seemed very premeditated in a way. There was a lot of time. There was him looking over at the chair and then going and grabbing it and then going and using it. And and then the wheels in your own head can work and be like, well, he's not going to lose the belt. So,
right. But I guess kind of like the whole he's not behaving like the hero, at least a little bit. You know what I mean? Just kind of.
And at the same time, it's like I can almost see that in a way because Seth Rollins himself isn't exactly squeaky clean. He's he's valiantly representing the title.
His catchphrase is based off of a commercial where he goes and sets fire to your WWE heirlooms.
Mm.
So I get it. It's just kind of one of those. It's like
I can see, when you look at that situation, if it's the bigger douche contest, I don't know who's necessarily winning.
Right.
I assume gender is, but it's a photo finish.
Right. But there's that. But still, again, praise to Seth Rollins and praise to Jinder Mahal. I'll give. I'm not a hater to the point that I won't give credit where it's due. And then real quick to wrap up the Raw thoughts.
Wait, is he going to be at that show in Chicago? Mahal in?
I don't want to go anymore. I don't even want to go to All In anymore.
Are you gonna give your tickets away? Are you gonna pass the bucks?
So Finn Balor and Braun Strowman, they were having a good match. Good little dynamics with the smaller guy, and Finn actually looked good against Braun. Kevin Owens was on. Shut up!
Speaking of looking good, I did notice. It's not really.
Is this a fucking pun?
No, it's not. It's actually a nice thing to say. You're
okay.
being really rude.
Well, you've Seth Rollins me to the point where I'm angry now. I am Seth Rollins at this point, and I'm justified in my anger.
I was just going to say, it's not necessarily relevant to anything, but I saw Kevin Owens on commentary and I couldn't help but notice that he looked like he might have lost some weight.
That's good. That's good. And he was doing very good, kind of when one would get the advantage, he'd get on there, I'd be doing this. Yes, stay on him.
Yeah.
And then they're saying that's a good move. Yes, it is a good move. It's a move that I would do. Yes. And eventually, Owens interferes when it honestly looks like that Finn is going to win the match. Still a great match. Finn is somebody who, despite kind of being in that main event, isn't really getting his due, I feel. And that might change at Money in the Bank, heck, should he win. But, ever since he's come back from his injury, he hasn't really been where I feel he should be. But this just goes to prove why Finn should be in that spot this match. And then also credit to Braun Strowman. It's why he's the best big man in the game right now.
Is Balor going to be at the Chicago show? You know, all Finn?
All Finn? All Finn, yeah. I don't know, is Kevin Owens all Kevin? Yeah.
I wish I had another Finn one to make.
Yeah. We were Braun out of luck.
Braun? That didn't know!
Yeah, it works!
No.
Shut up! We're going to SmackDown Thoughts! We're going to SmackDown! Okay. After I've calmed down slightly.
There's more things I'm going to say.
I know, but I'm calm now to talk about some SmackDown thoughts. So we start off with a dance-off.
I don't...
It's not terrible, but I just kind of like...
It really just was what it was. It was just kind of like, it was a dance-off. It wasn't like a lot of times with dance-offs where it's like, one person's like absolutely terrible on purpose, and then you got the other person who's usually like the good guy, girl, who's like really good and puts them in a place, and then scuffle, and so on and so forth. It wasn't anything like that. It was just kind of like one person danced decently, the other person danced decently. They kind of almost had like a mutual, we danced well, we both danced well.
And then the bad girl.
Yeah, then did the neck breaker, and then the pull apart, and that was it.
It's just one of those I kind of... Maybe call, you know, I mean, like, this is exaggeration, you know, to people that actually have this, but it's kind of like a PTSD thing of like, oh God, this is what the women's division used to be, you know, obviously on a much, like, not real scale compared to people that actually have PTSD, but you get, like, the analogy, you know.
I mean, I know they kind of have, like, having seen, like, I remember, like, I think on Total Divas, they have kind of a weird, like, dance rivalry thing. So maybe they just kind of just like, hey, this has been done before. We'll just do it on SmackDown.
Right. Not much to say there, but just kind of one of those, which...
It was a segment that set up for, I'm assuming they're going to have a match.
Yeah, it's Money in the Bank, so...
Well, there you go.
Or they're going to be in Money in the Bank.
Yeah. So,
and then we go to... Again, this isn't like really so much... The match wasn't bad. Shinsuke Nakamura wrestled Ty Dillinger pretty much just because, you know, Shinsuke's been counting to 10 because he's getting ready to do that last man standing match with AJ, so 10! And no, I do not mean the character from the children's book, Tintin.
Also, hashtag Tenshasa. Want to do that one?
I think that one's been... I'm not going to get mad at because I think I've heard that one before from somebody else.
Yeah, it was me.
Before you.
Mm-mm.
I think somebody else on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'll give you credit, but I perhaps have heard it before.
Yeah, it was for me.
Whatever. You see what I have to work with here. You see what I have to work with. Any hoozles. They have a good little match, and Shinsuke has really... I gotta give... I mean, I'm sure I've done it in past weeks, but I gotta do it again. Shinsuke's really done a good job since going bad. You know, for every criticism that, you know, I may have made, that other people who have sat in that chair, you know...
It was earlier.
Have made, for him kind of like being just okay in his role since coming to the main roster, it's the best thing that ever happened to Shinsuke Nakamura, you know, at least in terms of the WWE. Everything is just... He's so much more interesting. He's so much... Even though it was like just a character switch, his matches have been better to a certain extent. Everything's just been more interesting about Shinsuke Nakamura, and you know, at the Greatest Royal at WrestleMania, at the Greatest Royal Rumble, at Backlash, I wasn't digging Nakamura as champion. I thought that AJ should have retained at all those, and he did. Now I'm kind of thinking, you know, despite, you know, me repping AJ here with the T-shirt, I feel like Nakamura needs to win at Money in the Bank. I feel like he should win the championship. And I kind of hope he does. I don't think he will. I think that they've got something planned for AJ and probably the Money in the Bank winner. Yeah. But if Shinsuke were to actually walk out as champion, not win it and then get cashed in on, if Shinsuke were to win and walk out as champion and carry it for a while, I'd be a lot more okay with it now than I was 2-3 months ago. Even at the Royal Rumble, I'm a lot more okay with that idea now. So, once again, credit to Shinsuke and his work.
He beat Ty Dillinger, by the way.
Yeah, he won. And then count to 10 afterwards, but not like this. And then finally we kind of come to...
Well, they had the earlier...
They had the earlier segment with
Cass, which...
Well, first of all, Joe was doing a really, really good interview, talking about climbing the ladder, and he bring in some biblical references, back and forth with Brian, and then out comes Cass, who says, pretty much wave's clear, he's gonna kind of kick some ass, but oh wait, he is clear.
Crutch to Samoa Joe. Mm-hmm. I find that just weird that, why was she okay? Why did this get granted? I'm confused by that. Because if Brian won it fair and square, why did he...
It's supposed to... I think it was originally supposed to be... I might have missed... I watched this on Hulu a lot, so I might have forgotten something. So if we have, feel free to correct us in the comments below. I think, originally Cass was supposed to get that match... But then he was hurt.
Oh, yeah, because I saw him with the crutch, so...
Yeah, well, then, something like that, but then they gave it back. I might have missed something. I apologize for that. And that's why they turned it through. The only real gripe I had with it, and again, I know that it was just to follow the storyline. It wasn't a bad match. The triple threat, it eventually turns into a triple threat. The only thing I didn't like was it kind of felt a little bit like a bait and switch. To where, they were hyping for a week, the first WWE meeting between Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe, the first WWE meeting between Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe, they've never met in a WWE ring one-on-one before. You're going to see it on SmackDown Live. And while we did, see the two of them compete, getting big, we didn't get the one-on-one match we were promised. We got a triple threat with somebody that... Let's just be honest, not a lot of people give a shit about.
It's kind of like a layering kind of thing. Like they got almost like Daniel Bryan kind of doing two... he's got his thing going with Joe, but he's got lingering stuff with Cass, and I don't know.
Yeah. So, I can't complain about the storytelling. I can't complain about the need to tell a story, which they were doing. But... part of me just kind of feels like, oh, so we were told for a week we were going to get this match, and we didn't quite get it. Again, it just makes Cass look like a bigger bad guy, but still.
Choked Brian out, Joe.
Choked Brian out, and not going to, try to give too much plug to other YouTube personalities, but a former king at the Culture of What, pretty much mentioned, Brian's arm went down just one time, and then the ref just immediately stopped the match, but they didn't do the 1, the 2, and the 3, or the more specifically, because that's really rare, the 1, the 2, and then no! We didn't get that, but still good match, and, I believe that Brian and Cass are going to have another match at Money in the Bank. I'm gonna wait to see what they do at SummerSlam with Brian, but there's rumors out there that perhaps Brian's not re-signing, and if he doesn't really get something better than Big Cass at SummerSlam, or a better storyline, or something where it looks like they're going somewhere with him, I wouldn't blame him if he did decide to not re-sign. Brian is about money, he's made good money in the WWE. I don't think he'll be all in, but he could definitely go to New Japan or go to Ring of Honor, and...
I think he's also been thinking... I've heard him express interest in Mexico, too.
Yeah. He could, and then, he kind of hit that trifecta, the ROH, CMLL, New Japan kind of relationship they got there, and I think he'd be happy. Only thing is like, I would worry about Bryan's safety because maybe without the WWE reins on him, he'll be a little bit more likely to go do some more reckless things. Maybe not. I don't know. That's the one thing like that makes me feel decent about him. Feel good about him being in WWE is he kind of got the muzzle put on him, you know, a little bit. But I don't know. Well, before I just go into complete pessimism mode, like I oftentimes do with Daniel Bryan in the WWE, I'm going to wait to see what they have in store for him at SummerSlam. If he has a good feud with, like, The Miz, or him and Joe going to SummerSlam, or him and Shinsuke going to SummerSlam, you know, with something good there, who knows. But, yeah. And there was I know you didn't get to see this. There was a little like Sin Cara Andrade Cien Almas little sketch, which was kind of interesting.
I saw something about it. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like, be a nice little opening story feud, I guess, for Almas on the main roster.
I did want to point out. I'm assuming that if Joe does win Money in the Bank, that he will, you know, within the Money in the Bank briefcase, he could start the one-man Nation of Finance.
I can't like get mad at that one because that is obscure. Well, only if Mischief and Bobby Lashley can join, they could become the Bath Turd Nation of Finance. But do we need another Bath Turd Nation? Do we need another Bastard Nation? Do we need another Bastard Nation of the show? Well, we'll find out because we're gonna come back with it's time for some New Japan news. So